Guys, can we hang out?
Yes, I need to spill everything.
Okay, come over.
Roma, my friend আসছে।
So we're back with episode 3, and we thought it might be a good idea to pick up from where we left off last episode, which was we were talking about comparing ourselves with other girls on social media or just other people in general who are in relationships and everything, and how that just the jealousy আমাদের ভিতরে হয় and all the sad feelings and all of that. But something that is true is it doesn't just stop with relationship aspect, with comparison and the jealousy factor. It seeps into other parts of your life too, no facets. What I mean by that is, for example, there's that thing about, social media that everyone seems to have their life together, essentially. There is just this thing like, oh, you go to school, and then after school, especially since আমরা English medium এ গিয়েছিলাম, there was almost this expectation যে ওইটার পরে তুমি বিদেশে যাওয়া পড়তে. And বিদেশে যাওয়ার পরে, you get a good job, you maybe settle down abroad, or maybe you come back home, you never know. But there's like a timeline, একটার পর একটা sequence of events হতে হবে. And like আমার যেটা অনেক সময় হয় সেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে I feel this pressure to live up to that timeline that the society and social media has set. What do you guys think?
The expectation you talked about. তাই না? আমাদের মাথায় I feel like আমরাই just we know of the idea and then we feed into it. That's what I feel personally. যে হ্যাঁ তোমাকে একটা এরকম structure দিয়ে দিছে and then you would have your own goals, your own aspirations, and then you just try to fit that into ওই structure মধ্যে. Obviously that's not
Basically like a timeline, right? I mean, it's a
হ্যাঁ
set timeline, and then you have to tick it off like a timing,
Yeah,
right?
and I think that it just doesn't work out like that because let's say Jerifa has a whole different thing she wants to do with her life. Nua has a different thing. I have a different thing. But what we do is we shop different goals and aspirations দিয়ে ওই একটা specific timeline এর মধ্যে ঢুকাতে থাকি। তখন গিয়ে we start ওই কম্প্যারিজনটা because we know যে আমরা ওই সেম টাইমলাইনের মধ্যে জিনিসটা ফিট করার চেষ্টা করছি। এখন that's why we're like constantly comparing যে নুমাও তো এটা সেম টাইমে করলো, এখন আমার এটা সেম টাইমে করতে হবে। We don't even think about the fact যে she has a whole different thing going on, she has a whole different goal to get to, a whole different thing to do. ওইটা আমাদের কারো মাথায় নাই। We're just like, oh, ও এই টাইমে গেছে, ও স্কুল শেষ হয়েছে, স্কুল শেষ করার পরেও চলে গেছে, এখন I am falling behind because আমি যেতে পারছি না, or আমার এটা let's say টাইম মতো হচ্ছে না, whatever the time is. And তখন I think the whole feeling of ওই I wouldn't call it jealousy হয় না, but it's just I don't
Feeling
know how
left
to
behind,
Like
airborne.
FOMO.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically FOMO, yeah. And it also kind of makes you feel not great about yourself. That's how I would want to put it, because it's not specifically jealousy or FOMO. FOMO অত হয় না because you're in fucking America. Let's be
Mhm.
honest. But like, but it's just you don't feel great about yourself. There must be something wrong with me because why am I friend? So she's very similar to me. So ও সবকিছু পারছে but আমাকে দিয়ে হচ্ছে না, must be something wrong with me, and then that's when the self doubt and everything else kicks in. That's just what I think.
True. I feel like one example I can give was যখন Buma went on to her university life very early. I think আমাদের তো শেষ হলো এই যে জুলাই দিকে, and then like August I remember she was gone. And তখন I think আরো অনেকজন আমাদের মানে সার্কেলের মধ্যে থেকে they went এই যে abroad, Canada, US, blah blah blah. And তখন first semester I wanted to take a big break because এত পড়লাম এগুলোর জন্য I was like আর হবে না আমাকে দ্বারা, এবার একটা ব্রেক চাই, পরে আমি ইউনিভার্সিটি যাব, so that I can start with a fresh mind. But যখন তোমার ফ্রেন্ডস চলে যাচ্ছে তখন you're like, oh wait, am I falling behind? I mean তখন মেহেরও ছিল, she wasn't applying to universities, but তখন ওইটা কিন্তু মাথায় ছিল না। I was just seeing যে কে চলে যাচ্ছে, ওইভাবে আমাকে এখন মুভ করতে হবে। তখন I was like, oh my god, I gotta hurry up. যাওয়ার পরে I realized যে আমার পরেও অনেকজন they're still figuring it out, and it's okay, it's all fine. বাট তখন আই ডিডন্ট সি এইসব, আই জাস্ট স কি নুমা চলে গিয়েছে, আমার বাকি ফ্রেন্ডস গুলো চলে গিয়েছে, সো আই জাস্ট হ্যাভ টু গো, আই হ্যাভ টু গেট ahead, আই হ্যাভ টু স্টার্ট থিঙ্কিং অ্যাবাউট দ্য ফিউচার। সো ফিল তখনই তারাটা চলে আসে মানুষজনকে দেখে। Yeah.
Now I remember when Numa left, Ami and Jarifa, we were back in Bangladesh, and at first day we were pretty chill. Ki korbo hobe? We're so young. We're 19. We're 20. Whatever. And then হঠাৎ করে she goes, and then আরো কয়েকজন চলে গেল. I remember, I'm like, oh shit, ও তো চলে গেল. And then suddenly, a whole year have passed. And আমরা ওখানে বসে বসে we were counting যে নুমার গ্রাজুয়েশন হয়ে যাবে, আমরা শুরু করতে পারলাম না, নুমার আর 2 বছর বাকি, আমরা শুরু করতে পারলাম না। Yeah, so আমাদের তখন I think that's when the FOMO hit us, and that's when I think we kind of went crazy with the এখানে apply, এখানে এটা করবো,
Yeah.
এটা করবো, then করবো, everything's like all over the place. And তখন I don't think like ওই সব করতে গিয়ে we have the clarity to focus on the main things about university.
আমি এখন বলবো, it sounds like, oh, the grass is always greener on the other side. But like hearing about আমি জীবন, I had never really thought about it. Oh, when I started college, I'm falling behind or something. Back then I thought I was on the perfect timeline, You finish high school, you graduate, you live up to all the expectations that was put down on you. I didn't think much about it. I'm like, yeah. You don't really think much about the timeline until you are in a place where you're opposed against it, where it works against you. So যতদিন ধরে it was working in my favor, I'm like, oh, I'm chilling, like I have no problem. But now, as I am nearing my graduation, hopefully, inshallah, in less than a year, I'm like, I don't want to stick to this timeline. Like, Jerifa, how you said about at the বছর পড়াশোনা করার পর you wanted a break? I want a break. I am so severely burnt out, like I can't even begin to put it into words. Just like the mental pressure, the physical pressure, just everything. And I need a break. I don't want to rush myself into a master's program or PhD or even a job. Like, I just want to take a little time off to just do absolutely fucking nothing. I think I deserve that, because I think right from the get-go, like as soon as we were like rushed into like playgroup or nursery, it has been go, go, go. At most তুমি কি break পাচ্ছ? ও 3 মাসের জন্য তুমি summer vacation পাচ্ছ. And sure, that's life. You can be like, oh, everyone has to go through something similar. But it's just because everyone has to go through something similar doesn't mean that is something that I want for myself too. I am allowed to want different things, and I want a break. But এখন আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে the pressure is যে I have been on a timeline so far so good for all of my life. I shouldn't deviate from it now. I have the pressure on myself. You have worked so hard to stick with it. এখন if you deviate, then what was all of this work for? এই এত go সারাটাক্ষণ করে যে তুমি বার্ন আউট করে ফেললা, লাভটা কি হলো যদি এখন তুমি ultimately you take some time off, and then in my head it's like falling behind my peers, because Jars, how you said যে আমার সাথে আরো অনেকজন গিয়েছে Canada, US and all of those places. আমার মাথার মধ্যে জিনিস হচ্ছে গিয়ে যারা ওই জায়গায় গিয়েছে, who went at the same time as me, if they don't end up taking maybe like a gap semester, maybe like 6 months off, a year off before jumping into their next thing, তখন তো এবার I've fallen behind. Just because it seems like I have my life more put together, that's not necessarily true. And this just trickles down into other things, such as just সারাটাক্ষণ মানুষদের সাথে সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে কম্পেয়ার করা। এই যখন মানুষরা কেউ কোনো একটা ইন্টার্নশিপ পাচ্ছে, কোনো একটা জব পাচ্ছে, কোনো ভালো ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যাচ্ছে, and they're announcing it on fucking LinkedIn. That is so toxic. I fucking hate LinkedIn. I hate opening the app, because the first thing that you see once you open is, oh, I'm so thrilled to announce you make an internship পেয়েছি. And I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Not for me.
I know. Yeah.
And it's in your face লাগে সারাটাক্ষণ, because it's one thing just কথায় ফ্রেন্ডের কাছ থেকে শুনছো তুমি যে, ও হ্যাঁ আমি এখানে চাকরি করতে যাচ্ছি বা আমি এখানে ইন্টার্নশিপ করছি. It's another thing to just see a series of posts just being like, I'm so excited, I'm thrilled to announce, especially when you don't have any good news to share of your own.
See, one thing I want to point out is social media like দেখো, those are actually like the best parts. I mean, because আমি সব stories দেখেছি আমার ফ্রেন্ডদের, it's literally ওরা big four এ internship করছে, এই ভালো কোম্পানিতে internship করছে, ওটা করছে সেটা করছে. But what we don't see is the pool of people we know is actually very large, right? But like ওখানে সবাই তো করবে না internship, but we are not seeing ওগুলা যারা internship করছে না, who are on the same line as us. What we are seeing is just the people who are like ahead of us, because obviously বড় কিছু হলে তো আমিও share করতাম, but ওগুলা, those are more like visually available to us. So তখনই we are processing that and we are like, oh, ও সবাই মানে internship করে উড়াই দিল, সবাই এসব big fours big companies এ internship পাচ্ছে, but there are people যারা are not doing অত বেশি, but they're still doing, আর না করলেও that's totally fine, like to each their own ওই timeline এ. So I feel like ওইটাও একটা ব্যাপার যে visuality, যে কি তোমার চোখে আসছে, কোন type of news. Yeah.
I fully agree. I think social media is just such a big highlight reel that you just see the good moments, and just because you don't see the bad moments, you feel like it doesn't exist. Whereas when we think about it rationally, we know, I know some other people who also don't have internships. But when you're on that scrolling phase, you don't think so much about it. You just see it at face value and you're like, oh, I am doomed. I am doing nothing with my life. I'm a failure. আমার মা বাবা এত টাকা পয়সা ইনভেস্ট করেছে আমার পড়াশোনায়, আমি কিছুই করছি না। আমি ডিগ্রিটা আমার ওয়ালের মধ্যে just ঝুলায় রাখবো কারণ চাকরি তো আমি পাচ্ছি না।
So এই যে মা বাবার যে পয়েন্টটা, এটা আরেকটা পয়েন্ট, we talked about যে ফ্রেন্ডস থেকে দেখে, পিয়ার্স থেকে দেখে, we are thinking of a timeline, but এই প্রেশারটা আসলে কিন্তু মা বাবার কাছ থেকেও আসে. I mean, I think we've talked about আমাদের প্যারেন্টস এর এইসব ইস্যুস অনেক, but কয়েকদিন আগে I was having this conversation যে I was like, okay, এবার আন্ডারগ্রেড এর পর ব্রেক তো আমি নিবই, মানে এবার আমি একটু রেস্ট করে তারপর I'm gonna be back in the game, and I was telling them যে এবার একটা ব্রেক নিব, তারপরে আমি মাস্টার্স করব, and they were like, no. They were literally like, এই সেমিস্টার শেষ করবা, এরপরে you're gonna decide তুমি মাস্টার্স এ কই যাবা. And I was like, আমি এখানে ব্রেকের কথা বলছি and you're telling me যে আমি আন্ডারগ্রেড শেষ না করতে করতে এই সেমিস্টারে মানে করে to let you know আমার next steps কি, like মানে I'm trying to communicate, but তোমরা you're just like pushing down your timeline on me. So I feel like ওই একটা যখন ওরা বলে, even though you're like, আচ্ছা fine, I know better, but I'm not so bored, still একটা কানে আসে and you're like, আচ্ছা fine, মানে একটা timeline follow করতে হবে. You cannot disappoint them too much or like deviate ওই plan থেকে too much.
I genuinely think a whole concept of which you're falling behind initially কিন্তু আমাদের মাথায় ঢুকায় প্যারেন্টস গুলা, হ্যাঁ, because tell me why. এখন I'm in my second year of uni, but এখনো I hear this thing from my mom where she's like, তুমি তো পিছিয়ে পড়ে গেছো, because I started uni এক বছর পরে compared to all my friends. According to her, আমি এক বছর এখন পিছায় আছি, because Noma তো সামনে she's gonna graduate, Jarafa সামনে she's gonna graduate. It just started on our second year, so I still have one more year to go. এখন সেদিন আমার মা, she was like, তুমি তো পিছিয়ে পড়ে গেছো, এখন তুমি কবে তোমার ব্যাচেলর শেষ করবা, তারপর কবে মাস্টার্স করবা. I didn't even tell her like when I'm gonna do my masters, what am I gonna do, but না, তুমি কবে তোমার ব্যাচেলর শেষ করবা, কবে তোমার মাস্টার্স করবা. And then it's not just that, it's also because মাকে তো এখন বলতে পারবো না, না এরকম হয়নি, হ্যান ত্যান, this whole concept of পিছিয়ে পড়ে গেছো, what we understand now, ওটা তো আর ওভাবে তাকে, because it's a whole different generation gap, তাদেরকে এইভাবে বোঝানো যাবে না. Because she would want you to do something. Let's say your parent would want you to do something, and then you have a whole different thing going on tomar mathay je na, maybe like I want to do things differently. But then you cannot tell them mukher upor, because you have that fear of just like letting them down, because choto wala theke how much they've done for you, and then you have that fear. Like she has this dream, or my parents have this dream regarding me, and if I don't do that, I'm failing.
Right. ওইটা আরেকটা জিনিসও আছে, জানো কি, we are still dependent on our parents financially, kind of. So মানে এখন বেশি তো আমরা we cannot be like, না এটা করবো না, ওইটা করবো না, মানে since মানে ওরাই ফান্ড করবে ultimately যে মাস্টার্স এন্ড ওইসব, so আমরা ব্রাউন কিডসরা ওই দিকে একটু বাস খেয়ে যাই, ফ্রিডমটা একটু কমে যায় আমাদের.
I agree, and I also want to add another layer to this, which is sure, our parents are funding our education and everything, but at least for me there is also that voice আমার মা আমাকে বলছে যে এটা করা উচিত, ওটা করা উচিত, and maybe I don't want to, maybe I'm like, I don't like this degree that my mom wants me to study, or not just my mom, like my family thinks I should pursue a certain career, and I'm like, I don't know if I will be happy. ছোটবেলায় যখন তারা বলছে যে ও এই সাবজেক্ট পড়ো এটা হয়ো, তখন তো you just absorb it and you make it your life. You're like, okay, that's exactly what my goal should be, that is my dream. But slowly when as you grow up and you get to know yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses better, sometimes it happens to you realize that the path that has been laid out for you, that you have been instructed to follow, that might not truly align with what might be best for you. And to tokhon I always go down that spiral where I'm like, do I know what's best for me, or do my parents know, or like my family or elders in my family, they know better because they have lived this life. Maybe ওদের এরকম ছোটবেলায় এসব temporary wishes chilo, and then they know how those don't last. What do I mean by that? I have this very strong fear inside of me that I am studying the wrong major for myself, that I picked the wrong major. And I am like, but I am too deep in it right now to back out. I also, if I want to like start from scratch again, তখন কি হবে? I will fall behind that timeline. So I don't know who to disappoint. Do I call up my mom and do I be like, I actually fucking hate my major. I don't want to do the work that is required for people who have my major and who go on to work in these fields. I fucking hate it. I think it's toxic. Do I tell that? Do I have that conversation? Or do I constantly live in this state of mind where I feel like I am betraying myself? I am living my mom's dream or my parents' dream, not my dream. And this constant thing of just this fear of not just choosing the wrong major, but choosing the wrong university, for example. আমি সারতক্ষণ I think was Davidson truly the right pick for me? Because I think I have shared our experience on this podcast before about the lack of community, so sometimes I'm also like, what if I'm picking wrong? All of the other people around me, they seem to be having such good lives, such good careers, and I feel like যে আমারটাই হচ্ছে না. Even if in the moment you feel like, nah, যাচ্ছি, USA, good, yay, my dream. But এখন, it's no secret. Like, আমাদেরকে চাকরি টাকরি দিচ্ছে না with the current president. And now I'm like, did I fuck myself over by choosing this country? এত টাকা পয়সা দিয়ে যে ডিগ্রিটা নিচ্ছি, আসলে কি আমি ইউজ করতে পারবো?
True, yeah, agree. Also, রোমান যেটা বললো এই মেজরের কথা যে চুজিং রং, I feel like আমি আমার মুখ দিয়ে এটা কখনো accept করতে পারবো না বা বলতে পারবো না যে হ্যাঁ I'm choosing the wrong thing, because এই যে আমার প্যারেন্টস ছিল like তোমাকে O levels এ সায়েন্স নিতে হবে, IGCSE সায়েন্স নিতে হবে, A levels এ সায়েন্স নিতে হবে, because ভালো বাচ্চারা সায়েন্স নিয়ে পড়ে, and they were like যে এখন সায়েন্স পড়ছো, পরে যে তোমার ইন্টারেস্ট জাগে, so you like তখন তুমি ওই ফিল্ডে you work, blah blah blah. But তখনই আমি literally A levels এর আগে I was like, nah, I'm gonna shift to business, ওই corporate এর দিকে যাবো. But they were like A levels এ they were like, আচ্ছা fine, last তুমি সায়েন্স কে ট্রাই করে দেখো. So তখন I was like, আচ্ছা fine. তারপর ওটার পরে I was like fighting, like with like কি বলে tooth and nail. So মানে ওইটা দিয়ে I was like, nah. So I chose my majors omne, and then মানে so I don't think এখন এত মারামারি ঝগড়া টগড়া করে আমি বলতে পারি যে না আসলে maybe I was wrong, or it's like
She has
মানে
accepted her fate. She has accepted her fate and she's rolling with it.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
আমাদের তার
মানে এখন তো
chances
বড়
to
মুখ
question
দিয়ে
it.
কথা বললে
See, that's the
ওইটাই
thing.
dug
Because
my own
Joy
grave.
that's what I think. Joy Farta last minute switch. Just she's like, সারা জীবন সায়েন্স পড়ে আসছি, but last গিয়ে I'm gonna do business. Even I was surprised when she was suddenly like, oh, আমি business নিয়েছি university. I was like, তুমি business এর B ও জানো না, তুমি কি নিলা? And then she was doing
Same. I remember I was so mad when she said she was gonna switch to business, because I'm like, Amra pura high school life we were separated because this fuck ass chose to study fucking bio and chemistry, and I'm like, so we could have been together, we could have been in the same class all our life, but no. এখন শেষে ঠিকই ও বলে ফাইন্যান্স পড়তেছে, I'm like, what the actual fuck?
Also আরেকটা ব্যাপার about me is যে I don't think আমার কখনো favorite major বা correct career path হবে, because like I just like doing nothing and like sleeping. So I feel like আমি যে কোনো directionই যাই, because I've tried science, I've tried business, আমি কোনো কিছু try করলেও it's gonna be the same. I just don't want to work, I just don't want to study, হবে না আমাকে দিয়ে কিছুই.
I
So
related
oiting me.
hard to that. I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to have a job.
Exactly. Everything is wrong for me.
No, yeah. Do I need to get a job? Yes. Do I want a job? Do I want to work? No.
So the thing is, like, I resonate very heavily with you guys. And I also want to say, যে আমার কাছে the conflict that I have in my head, the constant debate, which is, do I make a career for myself in a field that I'm passionate about, or do I make a career for myself in a field that I know is going to make me money? Because those are not necessarily the same thing, you know? What I mean by that is, আমি currently যে ডিগ্রিতে আছি, মাকে যেটা বলছি, and the career path that social media and just everyone around you, society has laid out for you, you know, a path to follow karo. I think I'm gonna be absolutely fucking miserable. If I make it in that field, will I be making a shit ton of money? Yes, hopefully. Like, again, if I make it, not just choto-kato job, like if I make it big, of course, yeah. But I'm gonna be absolutely fucking miserable. I just know. But the trade-off that I'm constantly thinking
But you
is,
can't just know though. Like to me, just university পড়া BA, you actually can't know তোমার job life কেমন হবে. I think that's a bit of a stretch. No, I mean, how can you be for sure?
I think she has done a little bit to know if she's gonna like it or not.
I was gonna say,
But that's a little bit. If you make it big, it might be different, right? I mean,
it might be different, obviously, but there are going to be so many years of you just like hustling constantly, at least a dish. That's the thing. Like, you have to hustle, you have to work so much. Because I have had these conversations with professionals in the field, you know, when I'm networking and shit like that. And so you know what it takes, or at least experiences global. And for me, I'm like, do I want that life for myself? Maybe এখন আমি complain করছি যে, oh no, I want to work in a field that I'm passionate about. তারপরে যখন ওই ফিল্ডে কাজ করার পরে পেটে ভাত আসবে না, টেবিলে আমি ভাত দিতে পারবো না, তখন তো আমার মনে হবে যে I should have just suck it up and I should have gone through with that hard one, you know? So that trade-off between like money versus passion, that is something that eats me alive all day, every day. And I'm like, everyone else around me, I'm like, maybe they really like the field that they're working at. You know, এটা আমি যাদের সাথে আমি কথা বলি, আমি সবাইকে জিজ্ঞেস করি একই জিনিস, which is যে how important is it, passion versus money? আর সবাই একই জিনিস বলে, দিনের শেষে যখন ভাত আসবে না, তখন প্যাশনের পটাও তোমার গায়ে লাগবে না. You know, like, that's more important. But I'm like, I don't know. I just don't want to.
I'm actually surprised, not surprised, but like impressed with how much you've like thought about this. Jay, আমার এই option আছে and এই option আছে, and I either want to do this or do that. Because I mean, I don't even have that figured out. I don't even know what I'm passionate about. I don't even know what I wanna do in my like professional career.
yeah, me neither.
I always had a dream of personally, and thank God, our family has always supported this. ছোটবেলা থেকে I've shared this idea with them, and they have always supported it. And then I always, because এর জন্য আমি স্কুলে business পড়ছি, because I always wanted to have a company of my own. I always wanted to have a business of my own. I was never thinking about getting a job and এটা করবো, আমার corporate ladder.
Yeah. I think grade
I was
6
never-
থেকে you were like, একটা company খুলবো,
I was
literally.
passionate about that thing and I wanted to make it happen. And then বাসায় যখন বলছি, they were like, business পড়ো. And I'm like, okay, sounds right, sounds correct. And then I'm a business পড়লাম. And then now when I'm in uni, do I even like after uni, after moving to a whole different country, after like obviously I've got like come so far, but এত কিছু করার পরে do I still have the energy to make এত কিছু happen? Especially because I wanted it to happen at a very young age. It's just, do I still have the energy? Because বাসা থেকে এখনো they're like, এইটা research করো, ওইটা research করো, you're gonna figure it out, you're gonna do your business. They're still pushing me for the business, and I'm like, let me figure one by one. Let me figure this shit first. So you know.
And no, I completely get it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, ছোটবেলা থেকে, so my dad wasn't like a businessman. He was a regular employee. So it was ingrained in me, you know, being an employee is where it's at. Obviously, like, eventually your aim should be like the high, you know, executive, CEO type shit. But having a job as an employee, that gives you more stability, because businesses কয়েক সময় ভালো যায়, কয়েক সময় খারাপ যায়, এই সেই, and like obviously everyone will be biased. So আমার বাবাও নিজের জবের জন্য he was a bit biased, and so সে আমাকে ওটা দিয়েছে, and I was conditioned to believe like that is what I should be aiming towards. So all my life I thought, oh, CEO, like অন্য একটা কোম্পানিতে like কাজ করতে করতে I will rise through the ranks. But over the past couple of years, if there's one thing I've realized, which is I like answering to absolutely no one. I like being my own boss. You guys know that. Like, that's just, I love doing my own shit. And the joy that I get and that I got from like running Sweeter Weather all by myself, which for reference is my home bakery that I started when I was in grade 10, 11.
Yeah, and then when you stop giving your friends any bow, and then stop giving them cupcakes, and then prioritize other random people over them. Yeah. No, if you bring Sweeter Weather up, you're gonna have to hear about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jericho will always hold a grudge against it, and there's nothing you can do about it, Numa, other than shut up and move on.
I will say though, Jerifa was one of the founding fathers of Sweeter Weather. Like, if she and another friend of mine wasn't there, তখন হচ্ছে গিয়ে, yeah, Sweeter Weather wouldn't exist. So yeah, I owe you cupcakes for sure. But we'll get back to that later.
Yeah.
But the point is, age it was that cupcake thing, and now it's this podcast, like doing everything, having something of your own that you can say, oh, I did this shit, I created this, I run this, that just gives me a certain type of flex. Not just flex, but just satisfaction, a sense of fulfillment, that's the word. And nothing can replace that. And I've started to realize সেটার জন্য I feel like ওসব এই corporate যে funnelটা that my major is pushing me towards, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna absolutely despise that shit. With cubicle e bosho, working a typical 9 to 5, I'm gonna hate that shit for the rest of my life.
See, I feel like you guys are very like, like opinionated, or like, like decisions dite paro. Like, we have to do this by eta. I feel like I'm just a more like go with the flow kind of person. Like, I don't have any solid plans, but like I don't have like, okay, I thought of this, I have to execute it like that.
What I'm hearing is Jerifa needs to be ordered around, and তুমি ওকে বলবে
Nah,
এটা
see,
করো,
I'm
এটা
getting
করো,
to that.
she'll get the work done, but you have to tell her what to do.
Exactly, because I've been in the leadership positions where like আমার নিচে অনেক জন আর আমার উপরে কেউ নাই while organizing events, and I found that অনেক কেমন জানি, it's like সব responsibility আমার উপরে, like খারাপ হলেও আমার উপরে, কিছু না হলেও আমার উপরে. I feel like I don't like that. I like being in a top position, but like where I'm not the toppest. Like আমার উপরে there's someone to take the fall for, I feel like I'm okay obeying like commands, as long as they make as long as they make sense to me. I feel like I'm fine with that. Yeah, so I'm not like a entrepreneur hobo. Yeah, I think I'm okay with anything. যা হবে দেখা যাবে.
That's something like ছোটবেলা থেকে না, I knew যে I wasn't gonna listen to shit people were telling me. And then Junua বললো না যে ছোটবেলা থেকে she grew up in a family যেখানে like her dad and everyone had like a office job, and they had like a whole corporate thing going on, so in her head that made sense যে ও এটাই করবে. Like আমার জন্য it's completely different, because I come from a very business oriented family, so everyone's in business, everyone's doing something. My mom, my dad, different separate businesses. আমার আরো immediate relatives, everyone has separate thing going on. সবার businesses, not one person. I think একজন খালি has like a proper job. Other than that, সবাই businesses. I was ছোটবেলা থেকে এরকম conditioned to just think, oh, that's the thing to go. Like, আমি ওদেরকে দেখতেছি যে shit ton money, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can do anything you want, and তাও তোমার সবকিছু, ভালো মতো চলতেছে. And I would also see that one relative that I have, বললাম যে desk job. So I've seen him as well, and I would see all the restrictions that he has. যে ও এই ছুটি পাচ্ছে না, এটা হচ্ছে না, অমুক হচ্ছে না, তমুক হচ্ছে না, এই ঝামেলা ওই ঝামেলা. Meanwhile, the ones with businesses, ওরা ওদের মতো যা ইচ্ছে তাই করে ফেলতেছে. So I think ছোটবেলা থেকে I have that thing যে, oh, like I want that freedom. I want that freedom to do whatever I want, however I want it, and still make the money. So I think ছোটবেলা থেকে they trained me well.
I think Amar, as much as I have that entrepreneurial spirit, like I want to have something of my own, and Amar, অনেকগুলো relatives, they have businesses, and I would often see just how much more freedom and flexibility they got compared to my dad, you know? And I'm not gonna lie, even as a kid, you're not fucking stupid. You see তোমার মামারা কি করছে and everything, and then you think to yourself like, oh, I can't experience the same luxury in life. কি like ওরা হঠাৎ করে হুটহাট করে ভেকেশনে যাচ্ছে in the middle of the year, and I'm like, my dad just can't take days off like that. And so you have certain experiences that you miss out on, you know. তখন শুধু I would like see the bad parts যে ও আমার এত flexibility নাই, but as I've grown up এখন I'm like, but we also had a lot more stability. Sure, he could have gotten fired at any point in life, তাই না? Alhamdulillah he didn't, but we had a lot more stability than, I don't know, আমার মামাদের মাথার মধ্যে কি চলছে as they were running the business, but this comes back to আমার কাছে যে I have this intense fear of failure. So hey, on pen and paper I'm like, oh, entrepreneurial spirit, like I want to start something of my own. Hey, as long as I'm not having to put everything that I have on the line. আমার মা বাপ যখন আমার সবকিছু টেক কেয়ার করছে তখন it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, I want to start a bakery. Hey, because I don't necessarily have to make a profit from it. I'm not having to make a living from it. That's my blood, sweat, and tears. I'm doing that as more like, oh, একটা passion, আমার নিজেরটা. Even with the podcast, like it's not like my livelihood depends on it, you know? And things like these are so unpredictable. Like a business, like once it's taking off, তারপরে you are set, hopefully, for the most part. But we set take off করার আগে পর্যন্ত কত মানুষরা they start their own ventures and they fail. And so that shit petrifies me. যে আমি এখন, if I go against everything that my family has taught me or advised me about, ওটার against গিয়ে I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this for myself, and ওটা যদি backfire হয়, আমি মানুষকে কি চেহারা দেখাবো যে তুমি আমার পিছনে এত সময়, এত টাইম, এত টাকা পয়সা ইনভেস্ট করেছো just for me to end up as a failure, you know? Not just the business as a failure, but also just আমার নিজেরটা. And I mean, again with the comparison thing, যে আমার আশেপাশে মানুষরা ততক্ষণে আমি যেই টাইমগুলো ওয়েস্ট করলাম, যে বছর ওয়েস্ট করলাম trying to build this business, ততক্ষণে তো আমার পিয়ার্সরা যারা ভাবো ওই রেগুলার কর্পোরেট ফানেলে গিয়ে চাকরি টাকরি করছে, they're in high positions and I am back at square one, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that totally makes sense. But also the thing you said about আমি মানুষজনকে কি চেহারা দেখাবো, I think oftentimes people just don't act on their true calling or to whatever you want to call it because তাদের মাথায় এই জিনিসটাই ঘুরতে থাকে. They only keep thinking about আমি মানুষজনকে কি চেহারা দেখাবো if this thing doesn't work out. They never think what if it works out. You know, because there's always a what if on both sides. Chacha, what if it fails? But what if it makes it? You know, what if you make it? What if it just works out?
I think we are just wired to think about or like prioritize the negative আগে. Like, you know, as I said in the episode of first stage, there were still people on my time when I was going to university, যারা যায় নাই. But all I could see was people যারা চলে গিয়েছে. So it's always, we're always gonna, I think, focus on the negative more than the good. Yeah.
I agree, but I think I don't want to sound superficial or, you know, very cocky or anything, but this is just like my true inner thought. Just sometimes I feel like I am that rabbit. You know that story about the rabbit and the tortoise? The hare and the tortoise? I sometimes feel like I'm that rabbit. Like, in the words of Taylor Swift, like I was so
like
ahead
that
of the
lyric.
curve.
আমি ওটাই বলতে যাচ্ছিলাম.
Yeah, like I was so ahead of the curve became a sphere, you know? And that's the thing. Like I can't even tell you to a constant fucking comparison. It eats away your brain, and it's so fucking draining and exhausting to always be in that headspace where you feel like, oh, I should be doing more. আমার সাথে যে আমার কলেজে যাচ্ছে, they have everything figured out. But maybe আমার সাথে আমার কলেজে যাচ্ছে না, but আমার সাথে হাই স্কুল গ্রাজুয়েট করেছে, অন্য একটা কলেজে যাচ্ছে, they have their shit figured out. I fucking don't. And I'm like, এত কষ্ট করছি, and I'm just so fucking burnt out. And I'm like, maybe I am like the defective good, you know? Because অন্য মানুষরা who are on the same timeline as me, they seem to be doing just fine. They're ready to hop on to their job. They're ready to go to grad school right after everything. And I'm the only one who's being dramatic and I'm the only one who's just so fucking like weak যে আমি এত pressure নিতে পারছি না, and I'm like, maybe it's a me problem, you know? And আমি genuinely আমি বলতে পারবো না, it's so fucking draining, and you just become so mentally exhausted at one point যে you don't even feel that incentive to reach out to people, to talk to them, to connect with them, because আমার
Yeah, and
ভিতর
then you want to unalive yourself. মানে এগুলা কেন we feel we don't know.
Totally. এইসব তো মাথায় ঘুরতেই থাকে and you're constantly burnt out, constantly done. তার উপর দিয়ে তোমার আরো টেনশন যে am I even in the right place? তার উপর দিয়ে you're like, oh, like what am I doing in this country? Am I even supposed to be in this country? Because my friends are in a different country doing so much better. What am I doing in this ghetto ass country?
and আমার না আরেকটা fear আছে এই অ্যাসপেক্টে, which is just wasting my years. Like আমি যে বললাম না এত burnt out হয়ে যায়, এত mentally exhausted আমি. If I'm being honest, I'm at that place where I'm like, you know, I just don't want to do anything. Like কোনোভাবে আমি পারলে এখনই drop out করতাম. But I'm like, obviously I can't do that, you know? And so I'm like, Numa, just, I keep telling myself, just get this degree somehow, and then we'll see what we're gonna do next. Karon, I feel like I'm living half a life right now. I talked about, oh, মানুষের সাথে কথা বলতে ইচ্ছা করে না. Genuinely কথা বলতে ইচ্ছা করে না. Because at least Davidson, because my peers are so competitive, সারাটাক্ষণ everyone's hustling and everything, so academically gifted. And ওদের সাথে যখন কথা বলি, the first thing that slaps on my face as just a regular topic of conversation is, oh, আমি এখানে internship করছি, oh, আমার plan এইটা, oh, আমি এইটা. And I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need that extra negativity in my life. Like, my thoughts are enough. I don't need that thing, you know? Like, তো সেটার জন্য আমার মানুষের সাথে interact করতেও ইচ্ছা করে না. And all of this comes back to যে, then what am I doing with my time? সারাটা দিন রুমের মধ্যে বসে আছি আমি একা একা, মানুষের সাথে কথা বলতে ইচ্ছা করছে না, বলে না পড়াশোনার উপর ফোকাস করতে ইচ্ছা করছে না. I feel like I've chosen the wrong degree. I feel like I have no
By the
future
way, এগুলা
prospects.
নোমা বলছে যে হচ্ছে মানে I think আমাদের তিনজনের মধ্যে সব থেকে বেশি internships, jobs মানে সব করে উড়াই দিচ্ছে কিন্তু by the way. আর তারপর কি কি কত জানি grants পাচ্ছে স্কুল থেকে, এটা সেটা করছে. I think এই উইকে ওর একটা ইন্টারভিউ আছে for another job. I mean she has all of this lined up while আমার কিছুই কিন্তু চলছে না এখন, and she's being like this যে হ্যাঁ আমার internship
আমি বলি তোমাদের দুইজনের এই back and forth is basically giving me flashbacks from ছোটবেলা when Numa was miserable, but বাসায় গিয়ে আমাদের মারা আমাদেরকে বলতো, দেখো নুমা এগুলা করছে এগুলা করছে এগুলা, ওর পা ধুয়ে পানি খাও। ছোটবেলা থেকে ভাই Numa was doing everything, and then we knew যে Numa was just a random normal girl স্কুলে, and then বাসায় গিয়ে they're like Numa এটা করছে একবারে সব উল্টায় ফেলছে, যা ওর পা ধুয়ে পানি খাও। And I'm like, okay, you don't know Numa like I do.
Meanwhile, I used to go home, cry myself to sleep, have thoughts of wanting to kill myself, and like write journal entries about how much I hate my fucking family, you know? So, yeah. And so আমার just genuinely আমার you are wasting your potential এর কথা তো বললামই না, you know, যে ahead of the curve, you know? ছোটবেলা থেকে when you, again, I really don't want to, my point isn't to like be like, oh, I'm better than you, or to come off as cocky or narcissistic. I'm just sharing my own experience, which is ছোটবেলা থেকে মানুষরা তোমাকে যখন বলে আসে যে, ও ওই যে আমার মাকে বলতো যে আপা আপনার বাচ্চা অনেক পোটেনশিয়াল আছে, টিচার বলতো অনেক পোটেনশিয়াল, অনেক ব্রাইট ফিউচার, এই সে, তখন না ছোটবেলা you're like, yeah, I'm the shit bro, I'm the shit, আমার পা ধোয়া পানি তোমাদের খাওয়া উচিত, you know? এখন I'm at the place where all of those things that I heard, that just works against me. I'm like, you had so much potential, আর তুমি এখন ওইটার বলে না 10% আর ফুলফিল করতে পারছো না, যে তুমি comes back to that, তুমি মানুষকে কি চেহারা দেখাবা? If I were to like drop out of college, or if I were to like do whatever, you know, আমি যদি, if I were to go back to Dhaka, আমি আমার টিচারদেরকে কি চেহারা দেখাবো? The people who thought so highly of me, who thought I had such a bright future, I'm like, ওদেরকে আমি কি দেখাবো?
I think ছোটবেলায় না, I don't think any of us were bad ছোটবেলা থেকেই. We were pretty good স্কুলে, and then
honestly I think
আস্তে
ছোটবেলায়
আস্তে
সবাই was good. I mean কে কে
ছোটবেলায়
খারাপ
সবাই
ছিল?
ভালো ছিল, সবাই ভালো
হ্যাঁ
স্টুডেন্ট ছিল, and we had that thing যে we are competing with marks, and it was all fun and games ছোটবেলায়, but then suddenly ওইটা কখন transform হয়ে turned into something যেটা you know took a toll on you, and then you realize, oh, they gaslit me ছোটবেলা থেকে. that was not me. That was just easy porashona for a kid. That
Oh my god. Oh my god, you guys won't believe. The other day I had this conversation with my mom where in a moment of vulnerability I finally admitted to her, I'm like, I fucking hate my degree. I fucking hate my major. I feel like a failure. I feel like I chose it wrong. আমি পারি না এসব কিছু. And you know what my mom's answer was? She was like, এইসব কিছুই না, তুমি তো ছোটবেলায় তো সবই পারতা, ছোটবেলায় কত ম্যাথ করছো এই সেই, তখন তো কোনো সমস্যা ছিল না, তখন তো ঠিকই এস্টার পাইছো. And I'm like, how can you compare fucking O-leveler math, O-level, A-leveler math with fucking colleger math? Colleger math makes me feel like the dumbest person alive, and I go around saying that I'm just not cut out for math. I'm not cut out for statistics and all of that. But আমার মার কাছে it's like, তুমি তো আগে পারতা, তুমি এখন কেন পারবা না, just একটু পড়াশোনা করো, একটু পড়াশোনা করলেই হয়ে যাবে. And I am trying to explain to her যে মা, I am just so fucking tired of just keeping myself alive. বুঝেছো? It's taking everything in me to just keep going প্রত্যেক দিন. আর এখানে তুমি আমাকে বলছো আর একটু পড়াশোনা করলেই তো হয়ে যাবে. You think if একটু পড়াশোনা করলে হয়ে যেত, I wouldn't have done it by now? Really?
and the whole thing about you have the conversation with your mom about choosing the wrong major. I cannot, because this is all I wanted to do. Our major key, entrepreneurship and innovation. Like it screams business. Yeah, I'm gonna go on to like start a company of my own. Entrepreneurship and innovation, entrepreneurial studies, whatever. The first class I had a semester and I was like, fuck, I fucked up. Because what the fuck is this? What do you mean I'm doing prompt engineering for something? What is this? Pura class, I'm going to bullshit. It's like, I am not a part of this. I don't know what you guys are studying. Innovation classes are taking a toll on me. So I don't even want to.
You know what? এই যে নুমার প্রবলেমের সলিউশনটা কি জানো? সলিউশনটা হচ্ছে you should start disappointing people
আত্মহত্যা।
early. Oh, I mean, হ্যাঁ ওটা আছে, ওটা always an option. Yeah, start disappointing people early on so that পরে যে you don't have to face it love. No, I feel like it's just at one point in your life you're gonna have to disappoint the people around you and then just start living by your standards. I feel like মানুষের standards, parents' standards, এগুলো সব reach করতে যে you're just gonna have to kill yourself, but মানে you're gonna have to die trying. But it's just so much easier যখন একটা big ধাক্কাটা আসে, ধাক্কাটা খাওয়ার পরে disappointmentটা করার পরে সব শেষ and you're like okay bye, good.
And I actually second that so much, because once you hit rock bottom, তখন এত
Yeah.
disappoint করবা parents এর
Yeah.
ওইটার পর
হ্যাঁ।
থেকে anything that's a bit better than that, they're gonna be like, oh my god.
ওই যে ছোটবেলায় যে কয়েকটা স্টুডেন্টস একটু খারাপ করতো, তারপর ওরা একটু মার্কস পেলে অনেক খুশি হয়ে যেত, মিনওয়াইল আমরা মানে ভালো মার্কস পেলে খুশি হতে পারতাম না। ইটস লাইক দ্যাট লাইক খারাপ এত করে ফেলো যে একটু একটু পেলে ইউর লাইক ওয়াও হোয়াট ইজ দ্যাট স্মল ভিক্টরিজ, এগুলো আপনাকে এনজয় করা শেখা উচিত।
Guys, this is not the message we want to put out to
This
people.
is the message.
Speak for yourself. My message
Yeah.
to everyone who's listening till the end of this podcast is,
No, but it is okay to disappoint people. Yeah, be a disappointment.
as Jerfa is saying that, Jerfa is hoping to someone say it back to me. Please say it back to me. But yeah, I think if there's anything that we have essentially learned, a সবার experience শুনে, which is no matter how perfect, life seems প্রত্যেকজনের জন্য on social media, that is a fucking highlight reel. You never know what's going on underneath. You genuinely never know. And I hope a episode or two we have also learned that the grass is always going to be greener on the other side, and that whole thing about a timeline, I think it's a myth. There genuinely shouldn't be a timeline. And that's just external pressure. I hope to one day, if I ever become a mom, I don't intend on, but if I ever, I hope my kids never have to feel this way. Because if they feel this way, I will feel like the biggest fucking failure in my life. More than if my business fails. Like, তখন I wouldn't feel like a failure as much as আমি এসব এক্সপিরিয়েন্স করার পরে আমার বাচ্চাকেও যদি আমি একটা বেটার লাইফ না দিতে পারি, if I still instill this same expectation, the same pressure, because this is not a fun way to living like this. And I think the closing remark would be from me যে after this episode, next time থেকে আমাদের কোনো একটা রিলে যদি কোনো ডিপ্রেসিং অ্যাস রিলে যদি আমাদের লাইকটা দেখো, now you will know why. Okay, so
Numa like Dick, but I say she's too nonchalant for this.
Noma reel গুলা usually DMs এ share হয়, ওগুলোতে লাইক পড়ে না। Jennifer will like for it. Jennifer will like anything and everything as long as it's on Instagram.
She likes
So
the
Yeah.
most diabolical fucking shit. I see those things and I'm like, do I need to call 911 for her? Like, I am
Because
scared.
I want people to feel seen. I am making them feel seen by that. I'm saying to you're not alone. I feel this too. I'm doing charity. I'm doing God's work. Literally.
God's work করতে করতে God এর কাছে চলে That's Golpo for another day. ঠিক আছে, so yeah.
And the golf for another day is the cupcakes that we didn't get. Yeah. Chalo, ito na eh. Let's
The
discuss.
Golpo for another day are the cupcakes that Jerfa didn't get, but the person that got them instead. That's Golpo for another day.
that is golf for another day.
That's all for today's Golpo. If you're still listening, congrats. You now know too much, but definitely not enough.
Until next time, it's all fun and Golpo until the shotti kicks in.
I এখন mic off কর ভাই আমার চা শেষ